Welcome back to another episode of Home Built by Howard. This episode, we're going to get the rear suspension mounts in and that tunnel sorted out. Well, if you're new here, this is my TR6 Restomod, where I'm taking all the internals and electronics out of a BMW 135 and stuffing them into the body of this car on a custom chassis. Listen, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. All of that's really going to help the channel out. If you really like what I'm doing, or you think I'm a total lunatic in what I'm doing, leave a comment. Love to see that stuff. Appreciate it. So if you're new here, I'm going to pop a link somewhere, or there's the playlist somewhere here that you can find last episode. But what we did last time was we got that rear subframe in, the engine and transmission back into the frame I've built. We cut the drive shaft and got that installed, and we made up a set of rear spring mounts. Now, this episode, we're going to get those rear spring mounts welded into place, and we are going to get this tunnel sorted out. So if you remember last time, or if you've gone back and watched the video, or if you just take my word for it, I made these up last episode, and I went out to the old body and popped these out. So these are the caps that hold the top of the spring in place, and they are pricey if you try and buy them through BMW, but honestly, you just put a screwdriver, between them and the body, give it a wrench, and they just pop out. They're only press fit, which is great. What I did is I just drilled a couple holes into the underside just so that these are located properly, and the magnet's not going to hold it right in place, but just so you get an idea, that is going to sit like that. So what we need to do now is I need to finish weld this seam down here, grind down the other side, and then we can tack, or we can weld, stitch weld those into place. So let's get that out of the way first. Okay, so we got those lightly tacked into place now. I just put a couple tacks at the top and at the side there, just, to make sure that they stay in place, but I'm not going to weld them fully until I can get to the underside. That way I don't have to worry about them warping out of place. I was going to do some cardboard templating inside here, but it's too tight with the frame in place, or with the subframe. So I'm going to have to wait until, again, the frame is out. But what I think we should move on to now is getting the body back over top of the chassis and the drive shaft, so that we can start to look at how we are going to graft in the original center bushing mount, and how much of the actual older tunnel we're going to have to cut out for the drive shaft to fit. I don't think we're going to have to worry about the back. We're probably going to have to cut a section out of the middle, and we're probably going to have to take a bunch out of the front here at the top in order for the drive shaft to fit. But we won't know till this body goes on. So let's get that body back onto the chassis. Okay, well, I've marked on this here just to get an idea of where, but I got tucked under here. I've just decided that what I need to do is I need to cut this out here and over here. As you can see, this sits about 2 inches above the floor pan, right? That's here. And I'm just going to zoom out. So but it's 7 inches wide, which means it fits inside these rails here. Which means I just need to cut out a little bit and it'll sit up, and I'll be able to custom make a bracket to mount directly to this. So I've got that marked. I'm gonna grab the chop saw and or the saw there, and I'm gonna grind that or cut that out, and then we'll drop the body back on and go from there. Well, okay, so there we go. That's not bad. It's, it's a little bit up from the floor, but that's going to be easy to fix there. And as I mentioned before, the rail that runs underneath here, I think I'm going to cut those out and I'm going to remake those. My seat. This is the cutout for my seat rail, is going to sit here, and it's tied parallel against that and up here. And I think what I want to do is behind this bracket, I'd like to bring it in and then run it tight up against the old firewall or the old transmission tunnel. So I'm going to tuck it in and do that. And I'll put a cross brace across here to hold it, as well as then, run them here, because I got, the transmission or the drive shaft is way above that piece. And in order to get it out, I can still feed it out the back, which isn't a problem. Also, I'm really happy about the fact that now that this is in, that there is plenty of space here. I've got, good, almost an inch worth of clearance there, and that drive shaft does not move. This is not a rear differential that goes up and down and moves like a solid rear axle. That differential is locked in place in the subframe to the frame, and the transmission is, and that drive shaft just runs straight between them. So I'm happy with that, and I'm never going to get, if I have an inch of vibration where I'm tapping that thing, I got bigger problems. So that also, that now means that I need to bring this in, and it also means that I might be able to actually do something with this end of it here behind the gear shift so that it drops down and meets that, because I have plenty of room. So let's put that back into place and just see where we're at with that. Okay, so got that in place now. Because I had it, it was lifted on top of this this lip on this side, which was tilting it this way and was throwing my measurement off. And as you can see, if you can, my center line is not lined up properly anymore. It's off by about half an inch, and you kind of notice at the front as well that the when I get you in the center, the center of the transmission doesn't line up with the center notch here and needs to go over. And I took a measurement. I know that I'm about 17.5 inches. I double checked that. Now that I've trimmed this down to fit in, I need to be able to just shift it over a little bit. And I still have room to do that, but it's a bit more trimming to get done. Now, as you can see here, there's a lot of space between the transmission tunnel and, the top of the drive shaft. And I'm thinking I should be able to do something fairly simple here. These two bolts I want to keep. I don't know whether I'm going to keep it a little higher or whether I'll drop down and just, attach this. I might just bury that inside somehow, because I still have the remainder of the transmission tunnel with all the mounts and stuff on it. I need to attach the parking brake. The parking brake sat off center because in the in the center console, and I'll just take you over here to the center console, and you can sort of see how there's the iDrive unit here, a drink, holder, etc., and then it's off to the side. Now I need to center it here, and I need to keep this iDrive unit. So what I'm probably going to end up doing is cutting this behind the iDrive unit, keeping this back part, and opening this up for the parking brake. So that's going to be a future me problem. But as far as anything goes, that is where the transmission tunnel needs to be. You can see we have a lot of replacement to do. But first things first is getting that thing centered properly onto this. So I'm going to trim out the last of the that lip on the floorboard underneath the transmission tunnel so that I can shift it over, and we'll go from there. Well, that's better. So I've got my spacing at the front. As you can see, it is just nicely over top of the that center there, and my center lines are nicely lined up here. And of course, it goes white when it covers over because of the reflection of the light. But so that is where the transmission tunnel needs to go. There's obviously a little bit of floor that needs to be touched up, that I'll have to add material to. As well, the other side will have to be cut back a bit. The original transmission in the Triumph was offset to the passenger side. It wasn't symmetrical, whereas the BMW one is. So that's why it's kind of, it looks weird this way, or was it? No, it was offset to the driver's side and the passenger side, and at the front there where the starter motor was. So that takes us up to that point now. So let's look at what we need to do next. Right. So next. There's a 4-inch strip that's been, cut out of this. It didn't happen the way it was going to. I possibly could have kept that whole, length of the tunnel along with, so that cross piece here. And, in retrospect, it might have been nice to have cut out the tunnel along with the whole firewall out of the BMW and then started cutting it apart. That just didn't happen. Retrospect, if you're ever doing this, that's probably a good thing to do, is cut out the whole firewall with the transmission tunnel all as one piece, and then, start cutting it back as you need. So I need to replace that 4-inch strip, and I've measured the thickness of the material. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it up to the old firewall. So before I do any more cutting away from this body, what I'd like to do is I want to get the body absolutely in its zero position on the chassis, bolted down so it won't move. As you can see, it needs to come forward a little bit. It's actually sitting a bit too far back, in relation to the motor. So I'd like to at least get this 100% in the right position, bolted down again onto the frame, then get the transmission tunnel welded to the existing floor, replace those little pieces that are in there. And what I want to do is I want to weld them in and bring them up as a lip on the inside, and then weld the lip on the inside of the transmission tunnel. It's going to mean the body's got to come on and off, but if I at least get it tacked into place, then I can, manipulate it, and I don't have to worry about it twisting. The same with that repair panel. I would like to get those pieces into place the best I can and tacked to the original body, knowing that the body's square and centered and level on the chassis. Then I can start thinking about what else do I need to start adding back before I start cutting anymore. I just don't want to make this body any more flimsy than it already is. So that's next on the on this list of stuff to do. So I'm gonna take a look at how I'm going to do this. I think what I'll probably end up doing is putting a copper plate underneath the body, between the body and that rail that's there, and then welding in a strip of material to the existing floor. Just doing those quick, easy little repairs like that, so that I know that I can tack the transmission tunnel in place and not have to worry about it. Once it's tacked in place, it's not going to move. Then I can start working on that front piece. So let's get the ball rolling on that.
Look at that fluffy unicorn!
I have been waiting for one of these to go on sale for a while now, and Princess Auto there just happened to have one go on sale. It's like it's a smaller 8-inch unit, so nothing super deep, but it came with a couple sets of dies. It came with this die here, and it also came with this art die that lets you do pretty fine, more. I did some practice. This shallower one here. These two here. Bends in metal. Now I curved the panel myself just for the fun of it. Then they had a pack of 3 bead roller flanges, and they do different depths, So there's this one here, there's a shallow one, and then a really deep one. This here is the middle one, and that sort of depth is perfect for doing, these sort of beads here, and for creating stiffening beads in that transmission tunnel. And that's kind of what I was playing with here. But like I said, I've been wanting one of these. Sure, it'd be great to have a big long thing, but do I need it right now? Well, no, I can make do with with this, right? For I think it was like $100. It was on Canadian on sale, and these were marked down to like 29 from like I don't know what. So really good price. I also picked up one of these, but I have to get one of the softer rubber shoes, those heavy polyurethane shoes that go on there. I'll have to pick that up at some point. It wasn't on sale, but I'm pretty happy with that. Really not going to complain for $100. It'll do what I needed to do. It'll give me some extra abilities. If you remember way back when I replaced these here, it would have been nice to have had something like this for doing that type of a work, but it allows me to replace panels and stiffen those panels. You look at this car, most of the panels have these kick-ins here that, these embossings that really make the panel more rigid. And that's part of what this tool does. And although I can't get, into a super deep panel, I mean, I could do this edge, then this one, and then this one, and work my way from either side of the panel. So I'm pretty happy about that, and that's going to be featured as I'm starting to work on this transmission tunnel. So I'm really glad I was able to get that on sale. But right now, what I've done here is I've marked a line. It's hard to see. I just did it in pencil. I've marked a line where I want to cut back to. It does cut into these, but I'm not going to worry about those just yet. So let's get that cut. Let's get a new piece of metal in there with a 90-degree bend on it, and we'll go from there in getting this tunnel into place. as you can see, I hand tapped those little notches into the top here, and that one's a tiny bit off, but you know, they are pretty damn close, and there's very little gap in there. So what I'll be able to do now is I'll be able to tack this into place. I'll clean up this the floor pan. It's still, you know, there's a bit of surface rust, but I'll give it a cleaning just to grind it clean so that I can tack weld this strip into place. Then I will put the tunnel back into place, make sure everything looks good, make any final adjustments that I have to, and it'll be ready for welding. Okay, battery died. So, and I kind of just had to let it charge, but I did a little bit of stuff. So what I did was cut this piece out, and it's going to fit right here on the front of the tunnel. But what I'd like to do is, since I have this new bead roller, I'd like to run a bead along here, and then I may have to do a bit of stretching because it sits kind of like, doesn't sit at the right angle. So what I'd like to do is give it a bead roll and then shrink it a little bit, see if I can't keep the top coming up a little bit and bring the bottom down. I may just end up having to twist it a little bit, but that'll be fine. So that's what I'm up to right now. So let's get a bead on that. So just marking this out and, you know, rolling it and tapping it and just going back and forth, fitting it and just tacking it into place here. Just using the MIG welder. Just want to make sure that it's all fitting into place properly. You know, making sure that gap is filled around the harder part at the top and making sure it's centered. Just tapping away some metal that's still in the firewall. And then what I'm going to end up doing here is just grinding away all the rust and the dirt and all the garbage that's there, the glue from the carpeting that was in there. There's a lot of rust dust. You don't want to be breathing that in. It's not good for your lungs. But anyway, got that all cleaned up and got the tunnel back into place here. Okay, then. So that is now in place. It's lined up. There we go. You know, the center line's good. I measured across the top, and it's pretty much, you know, when I weld this side in, I can push that side over just a tiny bit, like that tiny bit of a gap there. I think there's about right there. There's about 1/8 of an inch gap, but by pulling it over and I'll give it the weld, it'll be good. So that is ready to be tacked into place. Now, I still have to do up around the front here. You know, and I was trying to do like, you know, a really cool curved piece there, but you know what? I'm just going to put a flat piece on the front there and call it a day. And that'll be that. I'm going to have plenty of other places where I'm going to have to spend a lot more time doing really difficult bends. I don't need to be wasting it my time under the dashboard where no one will ever see it. So, and I'd end up having to put a piece at the front there anyways because of the, you know, the firewall. I want the firewall to be nice and clean. So as far as anything goes, that is ready to be tacked into place. I'm just looking at this right there where the original floor pan sort of came up, and I'm thinking what I'll probably end up doing is cutting that off and stretching the floor, give myself a little bit more foot room, also place to put the gas pedal. On this side, as you can see, the the firewall and the bell housing for the old where the old starter motor used to go really tucked into the passenger side. So once I have this this tunnel welded into place along the bottom, around the front there, and get this side piece in so it's nice and secure, I'll feel a little bit more comfortable about, cutting that away and cutting away a bit of this firewall and seeing what I can do about making the footwell a little bit bigger for the passenger. You can sort of see, if I stand in the middle here, how it really does tuck into the passenger side, and it really doesn't need to for this particular motor. So likely I will continue this straight along and then cut it back to the foot wall, and the driver's side I'll leave a little bit more support there. It's not bothering me. So anywho, that's, I think, what's next on the agenda, is just getting this thing tack welded into place, centered, and then we will what will we do? We will stand here and look at this and say to ourselves, this thing's on an angle. Like, that needs to be dealt with. I'm gonna have to take a look at that. I may need to trim more off this side to tilt it this way. Does that look crooked to you? Let me see if I can get this picture straight. That looks crooked to me. Interesting. Okay, well, I think we're going to have to take a good look at what's going on here. Whether it's... I wonder... What? Something doesn't look right. Something looks... like, does the whole car look tilted? I measured the number of clicks on my jack stands. I thought everything was level. All right, I think I'm going to have to take another look and make sure that I didn't do something stupid like put the left side of the car higher than the right. Oh, man. Okay, measure twice, cut 8 times. That front corner was too high. I had it 1 notch too high, and then the block under the engine was too high, but that's fine. It's come back down, and actually, so everything is now perfectly level. The transmission tunnel is not. It needs to come down a tiny bit on the right-hand side. So it's about 1.8 degrees when I measure it right there. It's 1.8 degrees tilted this way. So if I take, I'll take off like 1/8 of an inch off the bottom on this side and see where that gets me. What that'll also do is pull this side over, which is where I've been having problem when I've been taking my measurement. I don't know if you've noticed, I've been trying to push it this way in order to get it to be centered, 17.5. I have 17 3/4 on this side and 17 and about 5/8 on this side. So once I've trimmed the bottom of that by 1/8 of an inch, I'll see where that gets me as far as everything goes. Also, you notice the center line is just a tiny bit to the left, and dropping that down and having it tilt this way will bring that into line. So that's where my issue seems to be. But other than that, everything else is level. I put the digital level here and here, and I'm at 0. I put it at the I put it across the front, and I'm good with it. So anyway, so next things next, we'll end up cutting a little bit off of the transmission tunnel there and getting it back into place. And when that is good, we shall tack weld it. Right. Well, what I ended up doing was I ended up putting in a spacer piece, the same as I did on the left side, on the driver's side here, put in on the passenger side to fill that space and bring it up so that I have a lip to weld to. Um, that is sitting nice and tight. As you can see, my center lines are nicely lined up there, as is the little notch that goes and the center seam of the transmission. So I know my transmission tunnel is centered to the motor, which means that I'm happy. So now what I want to do is, before I weld this in place, I'm going to pop the heater unit back into place along with the center console, and just confirm that my gear shift is still, nothing is shifted. I don't have to move back, or anything along those lines. I don't want to get into a spot here where, I weld this in and then months down the line, I go to put in the heater and doesn't fit. So let's grab that heater, pop it back into place, and just confirm that that centerpiece is in place where it's supposed to be. Okay, so that definitely goes back where it's supposed to. As you can see, these brackets here used to be over here, and I drilled them out and pulled them because there's this bracket here bolts to the bottom of the console and holds it in place, and also structurally strengthens it by bringing it up to this cross member that goes that went across under the dash. So it attaches that and keeps the bottom from rattling around, but also ties the top of the dash support cross member to the tunnel. So what I've done is I have those on both sides. I've got this bracket, and what I'll do is I'll just re-weld those in place. Now you can see the tunnel is obviously is about 1.5 inches further forward than it was in the original BMW, which means that this is about 1.5 inches closer. Now, this also means that my center console, the plastic, all of that is going to be tucked forward by 1.5 inches. But there was, if you remember, there was some dead space in that particular unit that was just, a bit of storage space, right? So I was able to cut that away because I don't need that little pocket storage space. And I have, what amounts to the ashtray crap here that I'll never use, but at least I know that this is going to go into place in the center console, or under the center console there, as was tested. So I'm happy with that. I think that looks pretty good in the middle there. I decided, as you know, to remove these center vents here. I really don't need them. There is a temperature sensor there, but what I'll do is I'll relocate that temperature sensor up to the defrost, or the defogger. So this I'm going to make adjustment to, obviously, but this opening here is perfect for the heads-up display, which is, it's great. So I'm happy about that. This dashboard underneath is, all this plastic, all this is going to be pretty dodgy. It's going to be dodged together. It's going to be glued. There's going to be bits and pieces of twisted wire holding it. I know that. But when all's said and done, it's going to get covered with Alcantara and is going to look really nice. So, or at least I hope. So I'm pleased with the way that is right now. I'm not going to weld these brackets in right away. I'm going to leave that until I finalize the exact position of this with the steering column and all the rest of the stuff I have to do. But as far as the position of the transmission tunnel, I will call that up against the old firewall with the 4-inch spacer that I put in, done. I will call that I'm happy. So let's take that plastic back out and tack weld this along the bottom on both sides and along the extension piece I put in against the transmission tunnel, and then start filling in, some of these holes that I've got on, on this side, and take a look after I've done that on how I'm going to tackle the passenger side, whether, that extra inch or couple inches of foot space is worth it, or whether I would prefer to, keep that space in the engine compartment for something else. I know I don't need it for the exhaust, but who knows? It's always good to have a little bit more space in there if I don't need it. So I might just leave that as it is. But let's get that out and tacked into place, and the center transmission tunnel tacked into place. Okay, so I have that tacked into place, and there's still a small hole that's got to be repaired. And on the other side, you saw me tack that in, and there's a bit of a gap at the bottom, but I'm going to cut away that material that's on the floor there. But that is starting to tie everything together nicely. So, just again, I'm using cardboard, if you don't have to buy cardboard. I just go out and grab cereal boxes, like when I'm done my cereal, I just hang on to the boxes. The cardboard is perfect for this. So yeah, it's get another little piece in there, and that'll button up the transmission tunnel, at least until I get the car back on the rotisserie, flip it over, and do all of the final welding with the TIG welder. Well, I got that piece put in place here. So you can see it's got a reverse bend in it, right? I had to make this out of two pieces just because it was too much to get it to work, because this part here has actually got a curve in it, and this has got a flat. So I kind of had to transition here, but it's in place, and with the proper finish welding with the TIG welder, that is going to look really good. And I'll just take you around the other side. Take a quick look here. So I still have a tiny hole down at the bottom there to patch, but I'm not going to patch that until I cut this out. Cut this out of here. I haven't decided whether what I might do is cut it and then hammer it flat so that it makes up the bottom. But I need to replace a bunch of this floor here, so I'm not sure whether I will cut that. And since this piece of floor from about here, like this, needs to be replaced, what I might do is just run the floor all the way and then bring it up with an angle, because I can make those grooves now that I have that bead roller. So there is the transmission tunnel tacked into place, and for the most part ready to be welded with the TIG welder once the body and chassis are back up on the rotisserie. Well, for a change, we actually got done what we set out to do. We got the rear spring supports welded into place, and we got the tunnel sorted out and tack welded into place. So now the body is a little bit stiffer and we can pull it back off. So that's all the time that I've got for this episode. I'm really glad I got done what I set out to do. Really didn't stretch myself and didn't really run into a lot of problems this time. So that was kind of nice. But thanks so much for sticking around. Like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. It really helps the algorithm for me. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.